The views and opinions expressed on our podcast by us or by any guest are those of our own and of our guests. They do not reflect the views, opinions, or approval of any Grand Lodge of Freemasonry or any lodge of any jurisdiction. On this episode, we talk about the differences between free and accepted Masons and ancient free and accepted Masons, and how it affects current Freemasons in today's world. How did each come into being? Can I visit one if I belong to the other? And is it really that big of a deal? Well, we're going to find out next on the Masonic Ring podcast, which starts right now.
It's the way that I can tell the world the kind of man I am, that I put my trust in God above, and for brotherhood I stand. It reminds me to be honest and to remember whence I came. I'm a man that you can count on, that's why I wear this ring.
Hello and welcome to episode number 24 of the Masonic Ring podcast. I'm your host, Brother Nathan Davis from Western Sun Masonic Lodge number 91 in Wheelersburg, Ohio. Today we're going to be talking about the differences between free and accepted Masons and ancient free and accepted Masons. But first, I want to let you know that we now have a website. Although it's in the very beginning stages, there you will still be able to communicate with us through our webpage at themasonicringpodcast.com. themasonicringpodcast.com. Coming soon on there, we're still going to be having a contact page, but also we're going to be having blog posts on there as well. I am a pretty big fan of blogs. I like to read them here and there. So I thought I would give you all some content that you can read instead of listen to. And don't forget that you can still interact with us on Facebook and Twitter at the Masonic Ring. And you can email us at our brand new email address, contact@themasonicringpodcast.com. Also, have you ever wanted to be on the podcast? Do you have a question or a comment that you would like played on an episode of this podcast? If so, then you can call us and leave a voicemail, or you can also text us at 740-675-1177. That's 740-675-1177. All right, so without further ado, let's get right into this episode. What is the difference between ancient free and accepted Masons and free and accepted Masons? And to be completely honest with you, in the United States, it doesn't matter whether you join the ancient free and accepted Masons or the free and accepted Masons, because all Masons, all Freemasons, both of the ancient free and accepted and the free and accepted, can trace their history back to the building of King Solomon's Temple in Holy Scriptures. Freemasonry was exported to the British colonies in North America in the 1730s with both ancients and the moderns, which chartered other lodges. And then they, of course, organized various Grand Lodges. After the American Revolution, independent United States Grand Lodges formed within each state. And from 1751 to 1813, there were actually 2 Grand Lodges in England. The difference in ancient free and accepted Masons versus the free and accepted Masons goes back to a disagreement between the 2 Grand Lodges in London at that time. One of these groups were called Moderns, but actually the group that was called Moderns was actually older than the other that was called Antients. And the Antients in the future became Ancients. So there you have the ancient free and accepted Masons. And the Moderns are the free and accepted Masons. there are different, they're recognized in different states as either ancient or free. And so what I thought I would do is give you a list of those states. These are the states that are considered ancient, free, and accepted Masons. And there's 24 of them. And these include Colorado, Connecticut, Delaware, Idaho, Illinois, Iowa, Kansas, Maine, Maryland, Massachusetts, Minnesota, Montana, Nebraska, Missouri, New Mexico, North Carolina, North Dakota, Oklahoma, Oregon, South Dakota, Texas, Virginia, West Virginia, and Wyoming. That was a mouthful. The states that are recognized as free and accepted Masons, there are 25 of those, and those include Alabama, Alaska, Arkansas, Arizona, California, Florida, Georgia, Hawaii, Indiana, Kentucky, Louisiana, Michigan, Massachusetts, New Hampshire, New Jersey, Nevada, New York, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Rhode Island, Tennessee, Utah, Vermont, Washington, Wisconsin. And also the District of Columbia, Washington, D.C. Now, there's one state that is different. We had 24 states as accepted or ancient, free, and accepted Masons, and we had 25 states that are free and accepted Masons. So that only leaves 49. So where'd the 50th state go to, which is South Carolina? They recognize themselves as ancient free Masons. I didn't do any research on the ancient Freemasons, so I'm not exactly sure where that came into play. So what is the difference between ancient, free, and accepted Masons and free and accepted Masons and the members of the accepted Freemason states and the ancient Freemason states? Well, to be completely honest with you, there are very few. There are differences, but they are very minimal. And it typically involves maybe some ritual work. So the minimal differences that are out there are not as important as the shared brotherhood between all of these groups within the fraternity. So however you want to identify as or be recognized as, you are still a Freemason, plain and simple, and you're still a brother, and you still belong to the oldest and largest fraternity in the world. And so you're still connected. So you can identify however you choose, but the point of the matter is it doesn't matter because we're all brothers. Now, the only time that the differences may be important is if you purchase a piece of Masonic jewelry or a past master's apron or a Masonic shirt or Masonic gift certificate or a Masonic award, or another item that is engraved, embroidered, or printed. Then you will want that specific jurisdictional designation on there. But other than that, I don't really see how any of these differences would really matter, to be completely honest with you. But, some of the items are pre-printed with a specific designation. So knowing the designation of your particular lodge will prove helpful. And that way you won't misorder an item. But as far as is one lodge, is the ancients better than the free and accepted? No, we're all the same. We just have a different designation. We have a different recognition as far as what it says on our lodge. So that right there is the differences between the two. And I think it's been, maybe 10 minutes, and this episode's over already. And the reason I didn't want to go any longer is because I didn't want to clutter this episode up, because this was actually a question sent in by a listener. And I looked for more content to be able to fill some time, but I'm not going to just throw stuff in there just to, have an hour-long podcast. So you guys are being treated to a very short podcast this week. And that is the differences between the ancient free and accepted Masons and the free and accepted Masons, which will also be a blog post on the website as soon as we get it built up and going. So I know from me, you're used to longer podcasts, and don't worry, next week I have a really good episode planned for you. So make sure you subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss that one or any future episodes that are coming up. But I want to thank you all for listening to this short podcast, and I will see you again next week as we discuss more into the light of Freemasonry. Thank you very much for listening. Don't forget to visit our website and shoot us an email, contact@themasonicringpodcast.com. We'll see you next week, and always remember to keep it on the level.
I'm a master mason, and I shine the light with pride. I will teach of all our values with the great Creator's guide. I present my craft with honors to a world who is in need. I'm a master mason, and I want the world to see